Hey YouTube, it's Jamie here to do my labor and birth story for you. So yeah, let's get started. Um, okay, so I was 41 weeks, so I was overdue, and as it turns out, about 2 days before I was 41 weeks, I had a midwife appointment, and she palpated and used the Doppler and came to the decision that baby was breech. My midwife does deliver breech babies, but he was lying such a way that it was actually very dangerous. His bottom wasn't in my pelvis, his feet weren't in my pelvis, he was just kind of sideways. So there was danger of cord prolapse if I did go into labor. Um, so yeah, and he was just kind of floating. I had a lot of fluid, so he just had a lot of room to kind of move around. Um, so um, we were instructed to do as much as we could to get baby to flip. So there was a lot of hands and knees, bottom in the air, lots of belly rubbing. I did an ice pack on the top of my belly with a heat pad at the bottom of my belly. Um, uh-oh, baby's gonna fuss. Um, just a lot of that kind of stuff. Um, and we waited a day or two, I can't remember. I think it was just a day. And my husband and I decided that we would like to have a ultrasound just to kind of see how baby was laying and to get, you know, just just to see what was going on, because the way it was looking like I was going to have a C-section, which no, I refuse. I refuse. I It took a lot of convincing myself to just kind of come to grips with the fact that for the safety of my son, it was probably just going to have to happen, depending on what, the ultrasound said. So I went to triage at Kaiser, and they took a peek, and as it turned out, baby ended up being head down, although there was still a big pocket of fluid, like here was his head, and it was just this fluid. So now it was just a matter of getting him to drop down into my pelvis. Um, so went home, got on the birth ball, was bouncing up and down, doing everything I could, and then late that evening, sure enough, I felt like him drop down into my pelvis, and I was like, okay. Wasn't really contracting or anything. It was pretty low key. I was thinking, okay, baby's probably going to wait till about 42 weeks to come out. So I let my midwife know what was going on, and she was pretty surprised that he ended up flipping and ending up engaging in my pelvis. So we were super excited about that. That meant the home birth was on. So yeah, so that night, well, I should say morning, around midnight, I was going to be 41 weeks and 2 days, and I posted on my Facebook status that, you know, 41 weeks and 2 days was when I went into labor with my second daughter, and I went into labor on my own, and I was hoping that I could get, tummy baby, because we didn't know what he was at the time, would do the same thing. An hour later, so it was at 12:43 a.m. I posted that. Sorry, looking at my notes. And then around 1:40ish, I had my first contraction, and I just knew. I knew. I was like, okay, this is it. So I laid in bed for, I don't know, about half an hour, and I had about 3 or 4 contractions, and I was like, okay, I need to get up and go pee. And I felt a little something down there. So I went pee, and sure enough, I lost my mucus plug, whole thing. It was really gross, and had some bloody show, and I was so excited. I was like, okay, this is it. This is happening. My contractions were pretty uncomfortable from the get-go. They were pretty intense. I was having to breathe and kind of do some of my, I call them ohms. It's the only way I can describe it. So around 2:30, contractions were about 10 minutes apart, and I decided to wake up my husband Josh. And I was like, okay, you gotta wake up. You gotta help me set everything up. I had kind of everything ready and set up, but we needed to kind of clear my room out and just kind of get everything into place. I wanted to light my candles, and I made a playlist on YouTube for all the music I wanted playing, and had to get all that stuff together. So we did that, and I was walking around. Contractions were getting stronger, and they were about 8 to 10 minutes apart. Um, Around 3-ish a.m., I decided to text my midwife and just kind of let her know, this is it. And she was like, okay, cool, whatever. And then about an hour later, I was like, okay, contractions are about 8 to 5 minutes apart. And she was like, okay, cool. She didn't really, she wasn't too worried. And she lives about 2 hours away, so I was kind of like, I don't know if this is going to go quick or not. What should we do? Because the contractions were pretty strong. On a scale of 1 to 10, for where I was at, the contractions were at about a 6 pain-wise. So I knew things were going to go fairly quick for me. Mind you, all my labors, my first daughter was 30.5 hours, my second daughter was 36 hours, and then my third daughter was an exact 10 hours. So I knew this time would go a little bit quicker. Anyway, so around 4-ish, 5-ish, everything's kind of a blur for me. I try to remember what time things were happening, and it's around this time. I let my best friend know that things were happening, and for her to come over whenever she was ready. She came over and started doing some filming and taking some pictures. We filled up the birth pool at this point, which was right over here where this little bed is. It fit in this little nook of our room. I got in the birth pool, and let me tell you, I really wish for every woman's sake that every hospital room had a birthing tub. Warm water does amazing things for contractions and for pain and relaxation. It took all the weight off my pelvis. I was able to stay limp and relaxed. I was able to do all kinds of positions that you can't do when you're sitting in a bed. It was amazing. That actually helped my labor pick up a little bit because I was so, relaxed. Anyway, so around, I think it was around the time my friend got here, my husband texted my midwife and was like, you know what, you need to probably head over. So she got herself ready and headed over, and it was around 7-ish that she arrived. And I was in full-blown, labor. The contractions were pretty painful. But in between them, I was just happy and hanging out. I was pretty tired, hadn't eaten anything, hadn't really drank anything in a while, so I was kind of like, but I was excited and stoked. I was laughing and talking, and around 7:30-ish or 8, my midwife decided to have me get out of the tub and check me, and I was already 5 centimeters, and I was super excited. I was thinking, man, if these contractions are this bad and I'm only like 2 centimeters, we're going to be in trouble. I do not tolerate pain. I'm a wuss, like to the max, major wuss. So I was a little concerned that I was going to end up needing to go to the hospital for an epidural, which I don't want an epidural. I had a really bad experience with both of my epidurals, but I figured, I did it naturally at the hospital with my third. I could do it this time at home. I didn't want to. I almost lost the chance to have a home birth with the whole C-section scare, so I was just like, just deal with it, Jamie, just deal with it, kind of pep talking myself. After my midwife checked me, I got back in the pool, and let me tell you, it was like, boom, I was in transition. It was weird. My contractions never really were closer than 4 to 5 minutes apart. Like, they stayed between like 5 and 8 minutes. It was very weird. But yeah, they were very strong, very intense. Again, time frame, I'm not really sure, but eventually at some point, like 8-ish, my water broke while I was in the pool, and that's when the baby's head really started coming down. I was feeling pressure, and I was yelling through those contractions. I was screaming, I was growling. The only way I can describe the way I sounded during contractions is like being possessed, like something from an Exorcist movie. I was convulsing. This is why I kind of don't want to post the video, because I was swearing, and I was doing this weird thing with my head and shaking it, and I was very involved and very vocal. Um, it was strange. I actually kind of felt like, fish in a fishbowl being stared at, because my friend, my husband, and my midwife were just uh, like no one knew what to do. I didn't know what to do. Here I am, a doula, and I was just like, ah. So I just kind of let my body do what it needed to do. I let it make whatever noise it needed to make. I didn't care. But also at the same time, I was kind of embarrassed, because I had this vision of being so serene and peaceful. I had my candles lit, my soft music, and I was just gonna kind of and hum through all the contractions, and it was gonna be beautiful. No, I was atrocious. I had raccoon eyes. My hair was everywhere. All modesty went out the window. I took my undies off. I left a shirt on, a tank top on. I just didn't care. And the contractions at one point got so bad, I was just like, I need to know where I'm at. I need to know that I'm going to be able to push soon, because I can't do this. And I know in my mind, trained as a doula, and this being my fourth baby, that when you get to the point where you're like, no, I really can't do this anymore, that means, baby's coming. You're almost done. Transition is there. You're good to go. I started getting really hot, and I was freaking out, and so I got out. My midwife checked me, and I was 8, almost about 9, but I had a rim, so I was technically 9, but because of that little rim, But I ended up on the bed, and my body started pushing. So my midwife was like, okay, well, you need to stop. You still have this rim. We just got to wait through it. And there was nothing I could do, and I couldn't really communicate, but I laid on the bed, and I got in the position. I was on my side and holding my leg, and I just started pushing. I didn't care. So my midwife kind of reached in and was trying to help, and she had to lift the rim of my cervix, but I didn't like the way that felt. So I just told her, I was just like, no, no, let me do it. And long story short, I ended up pushing my baby through 9 centimeters instead of a 10. I mean, obviously, I'm sure I stretched myself to a 10, but yeah, there was just no stopping it. My body was just like, let's get this done. And by golly, I got it done. Oh, son, it's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and pick him up. Come here, sweetie. Come here. Come here, guy. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, someone's got the hiccups. So I was loud. I was screaming. It was really weird. I kind of was not on earth. I was in so much pain that I would scream, but I knew I needed to push, so I did this dance back and forth where I was screaming and then pushing and grunting and screaming and pushing and grunting and blowing and grunting and pushing, and it was just weird. It felt like an eternity, but I think from when I laid on the bed and from when he came out, it was maybe like a half an hour tops. My midwife said of solid pushing, effective, it was about 10 minutes. So yeah, and he was born in the cull, which means in the sac, and once his head came out, I mean, it was pretty quick. He slid right out, and he got to be put, right next to me right away, and we didn't cut the cord right away. We waited until the, oh baby, the cord stopped pulsing, and that was really neat. And my husband got to announce that he was a he. Oh, sorry, honey. Oh. Yeah, my midwife didn't say anything. Oh, and I forgot to mention, in the middle of pushing, my other best friend arrived, and so she got to witness the birth. And it was really cool when Josh announced that, he was a boy. He said, "We have a penis," and everyone just kind of screamed and yelped and laughed, and it was amazing. I remember, because I hadn't eaten, I was a little out of it, but I just remember it was euphoria, and just, yeah, it was amazing. So that's pretty much the story. I'm going to run out of time here, so I'm going to do like a after birth kind of video, I guess. I'll just put it that this is part 1, and I'm going to go ahead and record part 2. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned. Bye.